Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of the Autoimmune Rehab Podcast, where as always, you can find show notes and download and listen to previous episodes at autoimmunerehab.com. I also want to remind you that if you have enjoyed this episode or this show, to please subscribe, follow, share, and also please rate and review this podcast, so that really will help it go out to a lot more people. So, for today's episode, I'm going to talk about something that is really a big deal for a lot of us who have Hashimoto's or Graves' disease, other thyroid challenges. And in some cases, this can also apply to people with other autoimmune disorders. But I've noticed personally with Hashimoto's that this is really a bigger deal with a lot of people who struggle with their thyroid, and that is being overweight and giving you some different tips and tricks on weight loss. So today what I'm going to talk with you about is, first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about why weight loss is so hard when you have Hashimoto's or, other thyroid issues, and some things to consider before beginning your weight loss journey, and also then some tips that have worked for me that I feel like can probably help you too. And a lot of these tips will be tips that I have discovered have been working for a lot of other people as well. So the first part, why is it so hard to lose weight when you have Hashimoto's? Well, a lot of times you've probably heard this before. A lot of people have a tendency to believe that all you need to do to lose weight is to cut calories and or just exercise more. Well, if that's all you have to do and you lose weight, then honestly, you're really lucky, because most people, it has become a lot more complicated than that for a variety of reasons. And when you have thyroid issues, one of the reasons why weight loss is so hard is that one thing that thyroid controls is a lot of and affects is a lot of your hormones, your metabolism, your weight, other things like that. And so when you have thyroid problems, it affects your ability to lose weight in a variety of different ways. And I'm definitely not a medical doctor or a scientist or a nutritionist, so I don't know how to explain all the logistics of all that stuff. I just know that your thyroid, one thing that it does is definitely controls your metabolism, your hormones, and your weight. And so if your thyroid is out of whack, whether that's actually Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism, whatever, you are going to have some issues with your weight. Okay, so a couple of things to think about before you begin. So the first one that I have to say, and this is a really important one, is you want to check with your doctor before you begin any kind of weight loss program. Make sure there aren't going to be any issues with what you're going to be doing, based on, especially if you're going to be taking supplements, that they aren't going to mix with any of the drugs that you were taking, different things like that, just as a precautionary measure as well, because more than likely, especially if you have a substantial amount of weight to lose, your doctor's actually going to be telling you that you have to lose the weight. And depending on the doctor, they may or may not give you that many helpful tips. I personally recommend working with at least some kind of chiropractor, acupuncturist, functional doctor, something like that, who knows a lot about nutrition and weight, who can help assist you and not just relying on a traditional medical doctor, because you probably won't get the kind of help that you need if that's the only kind of medical professional that you're working with. So along with that, you probably also want to consider hiring a health coach, a nutritionist, and or a personal trainer and fitness coach. As you probably know by now, I am also a health coach as well. And so if you would like to do a free consultation and we can talk about how I could potentially help you as well and give you some recommendations of other kinds of people, or even give you some specific names as to who you might want to reach out to for additional help, then please get in touch. You'll find the link in the show notes where you can do that. And yeah, so just build, in other words, just build a team to help assist you in your success. Then the next thing that you also want to do is you want to get a scale that gives you more than just your weight. So a lot of traditional scales, as I'm sure you're aware, will just give you your weight. Well, you want to get a scale that's going to give you more information than that. So, for example, the scale that I have is called a Fit Track with My Health, and it connects to an app. You can see my current numbers there, and it allows you to set goals for your weight. Also will track things depending on how the settings you have on, like your calorie intakes, your sleep, your heart rate, your activity, your temperature. It also will do things like show your body measurement, your body mass, give you your metabolic age, its protein rate, muscle mass. It's actually really amazing the different things that this app can track. And they have some different options for them. Like I said, this one currently that I have is called a Fit Track scale. They're not that expensive. They're usually between about $50 to $100. So they're a little bit more expensive than what you would pay for just a regular basic scale, but they're well worth it because they can give you a lot of good tips and a lot of good insight into what is going on with your health and your weight and help you manage more than just the number on the scale. And so I really highly recommend that you invest in one of those before you really get serious about your weight loss journey. And the other thing you obviously want to do is you want to have a goal and you want it to be realistic, but you also want to set that goal based on what your weight needs to be in order for you to have ideal health. Then the next thing you also want to do is you want to have a really strong why. You don't want to just say, I want to lose the weight and that's it. You want to have reasons, why you need to lose the weight, what will happen to your health, what kinds of things you'll be able to do in your life once you are a smaller size and have released the weight. And along with that, I also recommend that you program yourself to start saying that you are releasing the weight rather than just losing the weight, because the reality is that our psychology and our mind, as soon as something we feel like is lost, we want to go start looking for it again. And so you obviously don't want to lose the weight and then go find it again. So you want to use the terminology of more like I'm releasing weight, I'm reducing my weight, that kind of thing. And then you also want to get some accountability. And this is where having somebody like a health coach and or personal trainer and fitness coach can really help you. They can hold your hand, they can make you accountable. And this can be really, really huge for a lot of people. Okay, so now let's start by talking about some of the tips of things that have worked for me. And I want to say that at this point in my journey, I have lost about 30 pounds in the last year, and I'm working on releasing about another 60 pounds. So it's really great. I'm to the point where I'm actually having to buy clothes in a smaller size because my older clothes that were the bigger size are starting to get too loose. So that's really amazing. So the first thing that really worked for me was doing intermittent fasting. And I know depending on what you've read, who you've talked to, that kind of thing, you may be a little bit hesitant to try intermittent fasting. And there's different research, different coaches, different things out there that will say different things about intermittent fasting. And I want to also point out that if you have Hashimoto's or thyroid issues, you don't want to do a really extreme intermittent fast. Now, what do I mean by that? Extreme intermittent fast would be where you literally only eat for maybe like 4 to 6 hours within a time frame and a window. That's just going to be too limiting, and that could potentially cause you to even gain weight or have other problems. So what I personally do is I have a goal to stop eating by 6 p.m. and then I start eating around 8 or 9 a.m. the next day. So I do about 14 hours. And if for some reason I've been at a party or something happened the night before and I didn't stop eating till 7 or 8 p.m., then I just wait and I don't eat till 9 or 10 a.m. the next day. And I make it a goal to have a minimum of 12 hours without eating. And I found that this has created a really good balance for me. I feel like it has definitely helped assist in my weight loss, but yet I am not starving and I'm not, going too long without any kind of food. And that kind of thing works pretty good timing wise with my medication, my supplements, all that kind of thing. So that's what I recommend that you do. I have heard some really strong recommendations from people that say they really strongly don't recommend that you do things like skipping breakfast completely, going 20 hours, that kind of thing. So that's going to be really too much. But I know the biggest benefit that I saw for me when it's intermittent fasting is when I have that goal, I stop eating, especially the 6 p.m. deadline, is I don't start, finish dinner and then an hour later I'm stuffing my face with crackers and chips and chocolate and all these other kinds of things that give me a lot more calories and definitely can cause weight gain, because it's 6 p.m. dinner's over. And so, that has definitely helped me. And if anything, that's one of the main reasons I feel like it's helped me, in addition to some of the hormone balancing, the blood sugar balancing, that kind of thing that I've gotten from intermittent fasting. So if you don't believe me or want some more resources on that, you can reach out and let me know, or, do some of your own research, talk to other people that have tried intermittent fasting. Okay, then the next thing is not having any sugar. Now, this is a really tough one. I know it's a tough one for me, especially when it comes to things like dark chocolate. I have found some really good sugar-free brands. I have to say, in all transparency, that I do still occasionally get some chocolate with sugar. And sometimes I'll still, end up resorting to a little bit of ketchup or some other things that might have a little bit of sugar in them. But I'm really, really careful. I don't have that much sugar. I, really limit it, and I don't eat anything that has sugar as a primary ingredient. So, I only make like sugar-free desserts or things like that that made me with things like coconut sugar or honey or a little maple syrup or stevia or other, sweeteners. So, I realize a lot of the food that you eat still turns to sugar, but what I mean is I'm not eating sugary sweets, basically is what I'm saying. I'm not eating ice cream, things like that. Okay, so then the next thing that really made a big impact on me on my weight loss was measuring my food. And I found that this is especially effective with things like rice, quinoa, potatoes, anything that's a carb. It really helps to have a measuring cup and only measure either like half a cup or 1 cup, depending on how much you're eating based on, your serving size and some other factors like that, and found that that really, really helped a lot to really open my eyes to how much food I was eating some of the time, and really started to realize that, whoa, I'm really eating way too much. So that's another thing that can work. You can also even use a scale to potentially weigh your food. There's different tricks and things out there, but I found that engaging in some kind of measurement of my food is something that really, really helped a lot. Then the next thing that really helped a lot was doing daily exercise. And yes, I really do mean daily. Now, for me personally, on Sundays, I don't exercise as much. That's kind of my day for church, games with some neighbors, family, that kind of thing. And so I relax a little more on Sunday, but I still do some exercise, usually in the form of taking my dog on a walk, that kind of thing. And some of the exercises that I found have been the most beneficial and what helped me a lot is doing swimming, which I try to go swimming at least twice a week, going walking for usually at least 15 to 20 minutes, biking for at least 10 minutes. And I have a stationary bike in my house that I use, and getting at least 6,000 steps 6 days per week and at least 10,000 steps 1 day per week. So for that, you'll want to make sure that you have some kind of a tracker. Personally, the tracker I like to use is my Oura Ring. And if you aren't sure what an Oura Ring is or want to learn more about one, there's a separate podcast episode that I did about Oura Ring, so I can link that in the show notes below. And I highly, highly recommend that you consider getting an Oura Ring and you check it out because of all the different things that it tracks. So, like I said, you can learn more in that episode, but it tracks your exercise is one of the big things, but it tracks other things too. Okay, and then also drinking only water and or herbal tea. Now, this is something that was really more or less a habit for me before, but I sometimes would still drink like almond milk or occasionally would have juice or, other things like that. I've never been a big soda person, thank goodness. With my thyroid and knee issues and other things like that, I would have had to have given that up a long time ago if I was a soda person, but I never really have been one. But I would also occasionally drink things like hot chocolate, stuff like that, and I really have cut that out pretty much all the time now. So that's another big one. Then another huge one is infrared sauna. Now, for a while, I actually had a membership at a place called Restore, and you can check them out at restore.com. They are a franchise that has locations all over the United States. Not sure if they're in Canada or other countries. I think they might be only in the US, but they have, like infrared sauna, cryotherapy, different things like that. And I would go there about once a week for a while. Then I cut back to once every 2 weeks because it just kind of got expensive. And I finally bought my own infrared sauna on a Black Friday sale this past November. And I will include a link in the show notes to the actual sauna that I got. And I spent, it was about, well, I got it on sale a little bit. So it was about $1,000 with the sale price for my own personal infrared sauna. And so now I have it at my house and I can do it every day. And I really love it. It's really a great one. It's pretty much the only one on the market that doesn't have any EMFs. And it's a personal one where you just get into a kind of like a big canvas box, I guess you would kind of say. It's like a tent type thing that you sit in, and it has the red lights in it. It heats up, and there's different settings, and it really gives you a good sweat, helps reduce your inflammation, all of that kind of thing. And so for me, it's been really, really huge for helping with to reduce a lot of pain as well. So highly, highly recommend doing infrared sauna. And like I said, if there's any way you can get one in your house, that's going to be ideal. Okay. Then also working on balancing my thyroid, because as I said before, one of the challenges that a lot of us have with autoimmune and especially thyroid issues is that if our thyroid is out of whack, then our weight's going to be out of whack, because our thyroid, one of the things that the thyroid does is help to control the hormones and some of the different things that control our weight. So that can really, make things challenging if your thyroid is totally out of whack. So working on healing your thyroid. Then last but not least, I started using the MetaPower system from doTERRA. And this is a system that doTERRA launched last September, in September 2022 at convention. And it consists of a couple different things. And the MetaPower system is designed to really help improve your metabolic health. And if you are overweight and or have thyroid issues, and I've been learning even things like even knee issues can be related to metabolic health, that kind of thing, then you are going to have challenges with losing weight. And part of that too is that it also can be really difficult to normalize and stabilize your blood sugar levels. And a lot of us, even if we're not diabetic and even if we're not pre-diabetic, we can literally have blood sugar levels that can spike throughout the day, depending on what we're eating, depending on if we're fasting, all that different kind of thing. And a lot of those things can really increase our aging, can make our metabolic health poor, all that kind of thing. And in the United States, they say that only about 7% of the population has ideal metabolic health. And if you ask me, that's really scary, because that means that 93% of us don't. And I know that I still don't. And this is something I'm working on. And the caveat to this system that I want to also mention is that if you are taking any medications that say not to have grapefruit, or if you've already been diagnosed as diabetic, then you want to make sure that you talk to a doctor first and or nutritionist before you take this, because this can really have some impacts on your blood sugar. So you don't want to be taking this if you're already diabetic without getting some doctor or nutritional help from a professional. Okay, so the first thing that makes up the core of the system is this MetaPower essential oil blend. And what this is this blend has a mixture of grapefruit, lemon peel, peppermint plant, ginger root, cinnamon, and cinnamon bark. And it actually tastes really good. And what you do is it's designed to be taken internally, although you can put some like on the bottoms of your feet, or do like a dry brush type massage with it. But you put about 4 to 6 drops in water, probably anywhere from 24 ounces to 64 ounces, and you just drink the water with the oil in it throughout the day. And there's a couple different things that this does. So this helps with cravings, helps with your metabolism, and overall, one of the side benefits for a lot of people with that is weight loss. And I do also want to add the caveat that this system is designed to help with your metabolism and not necessarily only with weight loss. So for me personally, I've seen the combination of a lot of my like my clothes get looser, different things like that, and it hasn't necessarily translated to numbers on a scale. So that's also why you want a scale that shows more than just the number of your weight. Then the other thing is this MetaPower Advantage that comes in this orange packet. It has the MetaPower blend, but then it also has marine collagen, 9 different kinds of marine collagen, and MN in it, which is a special kind of a supplement that's become really, really popular lately. That's used to help with a lot of anti-aging, help reverse back the clock, if you will. And this has been really, really amazing for helping with my knees, a lot of other things, and is also a really key component to helping heal your metabolic health. Then it also includes there's also a gum that you can get to chew, like when you're having cravings, to help with that kind of thing. Then there's also capsules that have the essential oil in it. And one of the recommended protocols with that is that you take one in the morning, at least an hour before eating anything, and then one at night, right before you go to bed. So that's been the protocol that I've been following. Then you also have the MetaPower Assist, which is designed to be taken either 30 minutes before you eat your biggest meal of the day. So for most people, that's dinner. Sometimes if you're eating out, things like that, it could be lunch, could maybe even be breakfast if you're going to a restaurant or something. And for some people, if you really have a lot of weight to lose, you may want to take one starting off in the beginning for a couple months before all 3 meals of the day, or maybe just 2 meals of the day. Personally, I'm trying to do it before 2 meals of the day for about a month or so to really get things jump started. Even though I've been on this system for about 3 to 4 months, I feel like I need to speed up and get a little bit better results as well. And what the MetaPower Assist does is it helps with your glucose spikes and can also help your body to better process things like carbs and sugars and things like that, and make it so that you can metabolize these things better and the weight doesn't end up sticking on you. And like I said, this system is designed to help with your metabolic health and not only just with weight loss, but weight loss is often a side effect for a lot of people. For some people, it might take a few months of taking this system for it to work, but I found it to be really great. So if you'd like some more information on it, there will be a link in the show notes. Like I said, I'm always here to help consult you and help you out with it. And like if you have any interest at all in it, please do reach out. And I hope that you found this podcast episode helpful with some of these different tips. So let me summarize for you a little bit again of some of the things that we've talked about. So we talked a little bit about why it's so hard to lose weight when you have Hashimoto's, things to consider before beginning, and some different tips that have worked for me. And to summarize the tips: intermittent fasting, no sugar, measuring my food, daily exercise, drinking only water and or herbal tea, using an infrared sauna regularly, working on balancing my thyroid and my immune system, and using the MetaPower system to help improve my overall metabolic health. So anyhow, I hope that you have found, like I said, this episode helpful. Please rate it and review it if you did. And please reach out if you like some more help and assistance. Take care, and I will catch you soon on another episode of the Autoimmune Rehab Podcast.